The Social Security increase for 2026 is just around the corner, and millions of Americans are waiting to hear what that number will be. The official announcement is expected next week, but we already have some strong predictions and early reports that tell us what's likely coming, and unfortunately, it's not exactly great news for seniors or those on disability benefits. Over the past few years, the cost of living adjustment, or COLA, has been falling behind the true cost of everyday life. Prices have gone up across the board, from groceries to rent, from medical bills to electricity, yet Social Security checks just haven't kept pace. So for 2026, while we are expecting a small increase, it's going to be another year where that raise simply doesn't stretch far enough. Right now, the latest estimates suggest that retirees may see about a $52 increase in their monthly checks, while those receiving disability benefits may see around $23 more. That sounds helpful on paper, but in reality, it's barely enough to cover a single grocery trip, let alone make up for years of rising prices. For many seniors, this small boost feels like too little too late. The Senior Citizens League, one of the most trusted advocacy groups for retirees, has been tracking this closely. They estimate the COLA for 2026 will likely land around 2.7%. But here's the thing, both started the year much lower, around 2% or even under 1%, and only increased their forecasts as inflation stayed higher than expected throughout 2025. So what's been driving this? It's no surprise, prices just haven't come down. Food costs reached record highs this year, healthcare premiums are increasing, especially Medicare Part B, which will eat into that COLA raise before most people even see it. Rent, transportation, and utilities are all still up. Inflation may have cooled slightly in some areas, but for most Americans, especially retirees, life still feels expensive. That's why a 2.7% or 2.8% increase isn't life-changing. In fact, it's likely to vanish immediately once Medicare and higher daily costs kick in. Over the last 2 decades, Social Security COLA increases have averaged only about 2.6%, even as real inflation has risen much faster. And that gap is why so many seniors feel like their buying power has slowly disappeared. A new report from the Senior Citizens League highlights just how bad this problem has become. It found that seniors who retired back in 1999 have effectively lost over $5,000 in benefits due to how the government calculates these adjustments. The issue lies with the formula. COLA is based on something called the CPI-W, a price index designed for workers in urban areas, not for retirees. That means it doesn't accurately measure the expenses seniors actually face, like medical costs, prescriptions, and essential goods. Experts say that if the government used the CPI-E, a price index specifically created to track inflation for older Americans, the increases would be slightly higher each year, helping benefits keep up with the real cost of living. That small difference, just a fraction of a percent each year, adds up to thousands of dollars lost over time. For instance, someone who retired in 1999 has lost about $5,000 in total payments. Those who retired in 2004 have missed out on roughly $5,600. By 2014, that number grows to $8,000. And for people retiring in 2024, it's now over $12,000. That's money that could have gone toward medical bills, food, or housing, but instead, it was lost because the system didn't properly adjust for seniors' actual living costs. It's frustrating because this isn't a one-time issue. It's a structural problem that's been going on for decades. Every year that passes without a change in how COLA is calculated means retirees continue to lose ground. Even if inflation slows down next year, prices are already high and are likely to stay there. That means the small COLA bump won't do much to restore what's already been lost. If you've been feeling the pinch, cutting back on groceries, delaying doctor visits, or struggling to pay bills, you're not alone. A recent University of Michigan survey found that more than half of seniors say they're feeling financial stress, over 50% are cutting back on everyday expenses, and nearly half say inflation has hit them hard. That's why this upcoming Social Security increase, while welcome, feels more like a bandage on a much bigger wound. My own prediction for the 2026 COLA is 2.8%. I believe when the September inflation report comes out, it'll show that prices have remained stubbornly high, forcing the Social Security Administration to set the increase at the higher end of expectations. But even then, it's not going to make a meaningful difference unless policymakers address the real issue, how COLA is calculated. Until Congress switches from CPIW to CPIE, seniors will continue to see their checks grow slower than their bills, and that's not fair. These are people who've paid into the system their entire working lives, expecting their benefits to protect them in retirement. Instead, they're watching that promise shrink each year. So as we wait for the official announcement next week, keep in mind that while the headlines might sound positive, Social Security increase for 2026 announced, the reality is that it's still not enough to offset the rising cost of living. This conversation isn't just about a percentage number, it's about fairness, accuracy, and respect for the millions of Americans who depend on these benefits. What needs to happen next is a serious policy shift, one that ties Social Security increases to what seniors actually spend money on. Until then, these increases will keep falling short. So yes, we'll likely see around a 2.8% bump next year, but the bigger question is, when will the system catch up with reality? When will we stop shortchanging seniors who've already given so much? That's the conversation we need to keep alive, not just for next week's announcement, but for every year that follows. If you're watching this and you rely on Social Security, know this, you're not imagining things. Life has gotten more expensive, and that small increase just doesn't stretch like it used to. Stay informed, stay engaged, and let's keep pushing for the changes that make these benefits truly reflect the real cost of living.